So today's our last day in February. So last day of this project, the trees and foliage project. So I've done quite a few demos on trees, and last week I did a watercolour one, so that was last week's, or one of the ones from last week. So it was a little bit of winter trees. That probably could have gone a little bit darker, and then some trees. Yesterday I had a little practice myself when I was out and about, just trying to get today I thought I'd do a little bit on foliage, because the idea of the project was tree and foliage. I'm thinking sometimes, I haven't actually got many pictures of plants or so, I've got planted, so if anybody wanted that on the desk, once I finish the demo. I can see Joan has, that's great. Somebody else brought a planting this morning. So it's a chance to have a go at painting foliage, and or just sometimes you'll find, yeah, brilliant, that's a good one, yeah. And yours is ideal anyway, because you have foliage in the foreground anyway. So I'm thinking quite often you might have some foliage in the foreground of the landscape anyway, so this would suit that. So what I've done is, what I'm using today is I thought I'd use acrylics, but I haven't really used acrylics yet. But I thought I would try and use them a bit more of a watercolour style. So I'm using paper, watercolour paper or white paper, and I'm attempting to paint a little bit more transparently. So that's the idea. So that's the demo from this morning, and then I've just sketched out here. If you're sketching out first, which I think is probably easier with this sort of approach, I've tended to start sort of in the middle of the plan and then just work my way out. So I've just sketched in these leaves around here on that side, and these ones in the middle were this morning's. The way I've gone about starting this is to really work light to dark. One of the problems I find with acrylics is it really holds the brush marks very quickly. And obviously we're painting onto a very dry surface, it's going to suck up all the moisture. So I'm going to make this a little bit wetter. I've pre-mixed a little bit of a light green. I'll just soften that down a little bit. Tiny bit more blue into that. So some ultramarine and a very bluey, I'm not quite sure what that colour was, but it's a very bluey green. And then just using a soft brush. And what I did actually with this one was paint into the shape like this. But I thought you could also, if you wanted to, paint through the shapes and then paint over the background after, maybe with more opaque colour. So my beef with acrylics is that sometimes it holds all the brush marks and not necessarily the ones I want. So I'm going to paint this. So that's one approach. Another approach would be just, almost like paint through it like that, and then cut in around these leaves, because I can still see the lines, cut in with the background, and hopefully I'll be able to get some more interesting, kind of more dynamic paint marks as well. So that would be the first stage. And then I can either work into that, go down a slightly smaller brush and go a little bit darker. So just mix a darker green. And while this is still wet, I can kind of get some slightly softer marks in there. So I'll just have a look at this one. So yeah, nice round brush, give some more fluid look to that, and a little bit of shadow here. May not be exactly that leaf, but hopefully give a feel for the whole of it. I could have going over that one as well, I think. So let's see if that would. That one's a little bit bigger, really. It needs a bit bigger brush still, but it did need to go a bit darker. Just add a little bit of some black, just grey it down a little bit. And then just leaving a little bit of room for these bits of a reflection on there. And to me, the reflections, I see those as just being a tiny bit of a pinky colour. So rather than go for just a grey, try and see a little bit of colour in there if you can. So maybe a bit I'll make it maybe a bit more lilac-y, and a tiny bit of the green in as well, just to grey it down a little bit. It's like a slightly pinky grey. So those can go back in like that. So it depends how accurate you want to be. For me, it's a sort of balance between lively brushwork and accuracy of drawing. There just a few little bits of even bright still. Just using a softish watercolour brush. Like that. I'm going to make that background a bit lighter around there because that should be lighter on the dark. Just on the brush. That'll be right. Some white and a tiny bit of brown and yellow. Just isolate that from the background there. Sort of creating negative shapes. Another approach would be to use the acrylic painting as almost like an under painting to work pastel over the top. So if you want to try pastels, we've got some pastels here. So you could perhaps use that and then go in with perhaps some stronger greens, this sort of thing. Have that, work that in, have a little bit of that showing through. It's quite hard to get the pastel colours very accurate, so sometimes having a coloured under drawing or painting can be quite beneficial. And then we could have some highlights over the top of that. And that's quite a nice, easy way of drawing in the veins as well. Actually physically drawing them in with a bit of pastel. So it's a way of experimenting, just trying a slightly different approach. Usually when I paint with acrylics, I paint quite opaquely. I paint a bit more like I would with oil paints. So I sort of have a toned board, maybe like a grey board, and then put some colours that I've mixed white in with. I'll try not to use too much white, apart from this bit here, but keep some of the transparency of the colour. So that's, that could be one possible way of working. So this has been the last week on the trees and the foliage project. Next week, next month, I'm planning to run a introduction to watercolours course. So I'm going to go over all the basics of watercolours. So anybody who's new to watercolours and fancy trying watercolours, I found that some of my students are very good, like Anne in the corner. Perhaps Anne can help me. And then I've got other students, some are very good at drawing, but not necessarily that good at putting the watercolour on over the top. So I thought sometimes the very basic techniques, it's worth just refreshing some people, or as an introduction to, I don't know if I've got any absolutely beginner students now, but certainly in my morning class I've got a few students who have just started and never really used watercolour before. So that's the plan for March, for the 4 weeks of March. Is that good? Yeah, all good? Yeah. Is there any questions on this or anything else? Obviously you don't have to do, if you want to do other subjects other than watercolours, that's absolutely fine, because I know it's not for everybody. But if you do want to use it, go. Okay, right, continue.